Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. I'm Morgan, ESG lead at the Global Maritime Forum and working for the Secretariat of the Poseidon Principle for Marine Insurance. And today we are very happy to have this session with all of you. I will just start with some house rule today. So we will have time for Q&A session in the end, and you can use the chat to ask any question. And we will take time in the end to respond and answer to the question. And this webinar is also recorded. And as you have been registered, you will receive the recording and the slides. We will start in a few seconds to let people come. And yes, today during this webinar, the objective is that we are presenting in the occasion of the publication of the second annual report, what are the Poseidon Principles for Marine Insurance. And we have very nice and great speakers today with us to share on their experience and giving some more insights on the latest report and the initiative. And before giving the floor today to the speaker and presenting them, we had just a quick poll that we want to share with you and just to have a bit more interactivity. So I'm launching it now. You should be able to see it. And it's about how familiar you are with the initiative. I'm giving a few seconds to it. Okay, I can start the results now. So we have mixed options. So people have heard it but don't know so much about it. Some are familiar but unsure of some aspects, and some are very familiar and some other adults. So I think it's perfectly on point, and the objective of the session is also to give you more insight on that. So that was for the question. And now I'm happy to present the speakers we have today. We have Patricia that will be first in line and is collaborating with Swiss Re Corporate Solution in the CEO office as a consultant for marine sustainability. And she's also the chair of the Poseidon Principle for Marine Insurance. Then we will also hear from Matthias Olsen, who is senior executive and underwriter and a decarbonization coordinator within SCULD, and is leading the decarbonization efforts there, as well as the activities related to the Poseidon Principle for Marine Insurance. And then we are welcoming also Florence Tully, who is the operation manager for Gallagher Specialties Marine team. And she has spent the last 2 years with Marine and the previous 8 years in financial crime. And I'm very happy to have you all. And just before leaving the floor to Patricia, I will just present a quick introduction on where the initiative sits. So it's just a reminder that following the initial IMO strategy around greenhouse gases, we have seen emerging ask for more transparency in terms of climate in the shipping industry, and this voluntary initiative have emerged all about climate alignment. And now with the revised ambition that was out this July, the journey is continuing. And I think it's best to hear directly from our members and ambassadors. And then Patricia, could you tell us what are the Poseidon Principles for Marine Insurance all about?
Thank you very much, Morgan, for your introduction. I think it's very important that we put the Poseidon Principle into the wider perspective. The Poseidon Principle are a framework that was developed by a group of banks and insurance companies in collaboration with the Global Maritime Forum. And the aim is to integrate the climate consideration into the lending and the insurance decision for the shipping sector. It primarily focuses on promoting really the decarbonization of maritime transportation by aligning the financing practice with the climate goal of the International Maritime Organization. This is extremely important. This principle encourages responsible decisions that support the transition to a low carbon future, taking into account factors such as ship design, energy efficiency, carbon intensity. They provide a framework for measuring and reporting emission, as well as promoting the collaboration between the financial, insurance, and shipping industry. The Poseidon Principle supports the IMO strategy. This is extremely important. We are not setting rule to the shipping industry on how they decarbonize. The IMO is doing it. And we are supporting their strategy that set the overall direction and the objective of the decarbonization for the industry. I think that this is key that we understand that. There is a very important role that the corporation need to play towards the net zero. And this is exactly what we are doing here. The collaboration between these initiatives is crucial to drive the sustainable development in the maritime sector and ensure the alignment of financial investment and the insurance with the goals set by IMO. The Poseidon Principle, they provide a very practical mechanism for supporting the IMO strategy by leveraging the influence and decision-making power of the financial and insurance sector. This collaboration can ultimately lead to a more sustainable shipping industry and contribute to global climate objectives. Now let's have a look who are the signatory, and who are the affiliate members. Signatories are insurers that are offering hull and machinery insurance, and they will report in case where they are the lead insurer, as well as in cases where they are follower, but the lead insurance is also a fellow signatory. The affiliate members are stakeholders who support and contribute to the insurance ecosystem, but whose current commercial activity is out of scope of the reporting. The affiliate member is available to organizations such as insurance broker, insurance association, captive, syndicate, and P&I club. Next slide. Here we see who they are. We have leading hull underwriter, as we have the support of insurance association like Safer, large broker like Lockton, Willis, Cambiaso Erisso, Gallagher, Lochain Patrick, and even a captive that is the captive of the Costco Group. I think it's important the role that IUMI has played in this. They have played a fundamental role in the success of our initiative. Sustainability is one of the organization foundation, and the Poseidon Principle, as well as the decarbonization of the industry, was one of the recurring themes at the last conferences. Thanks to the support of IUMI, Sigvald Fossum from GARD and I will have the honor of speaking about the Poseidon Principle at the upcoming IMO section on March 21st in London. This is also a demonstration on how the IMO relies on the maritime insurer to create the necessary incentive to achieve on the agreed objective. Can you go back to the slide that I missed on the structure? Sorry, I hadn't realized the floor. Apologies for this. What are the Poseidon Principle about? The Poseidon Principle is a global framework for responsible maritime insurance. And this framework aims to assess and disclose the climate alignment of our machinery portfolio. As we said before, we have the insurance company that are reporting their climate alignment score. Morgan will then go more into the detail of how it is done. We have fundamentally a structure with 4 principles. It is the assessment. It seeks to measure the carbon intensity and assess the climate alignment of the hull and machinery portfolio, as we just said before. The second is the accountability. We acknowledge the role that is played by impartial information in collecting data and reporting the fuel consumption of ships to meet the decarbonization targets in the sector. The third is the implementation. The continuous compliance with the Poseidon Principle for marine insurer is contractually required through the covenant clause that is really part of our contract with the shipping company. The fourth principle is the transparency. We commit to publish the result and really to share our climate alignment score in full transparency. Here, a lot of people asked me, why should we do it? What is in for us? I think there is a lot of business in for us. Because the ship owner, in the end, will pay for this transition. And the cost, and it's really key that the insurance company are able to go through this journey together with our shipping client. Try to imagine a ship that is using hydrogen. The bunkering will become an extremely hazardous operation. The risk profile we currently consider will completely change. We can think of being not prepared to it. If we are not capable of assuming a part of the risk that will be necessarily involved with this transition, we will prove that the insurance industry is irrelevant. And this is not definitely something that we can let it happen. And even more important, we will miss on a great opportunity to assess a new set of risks that doesn't exist today. But how can we expect to play a role if we don't know where we stand? If we are able to have this type of conversation with our client to understand where they are now, where they want to go, we have a very concrete chance of assessing this new business pool. And this is definitely what is in also for the insurance company that signed the Poseidon Principle. What are the Poseidon Principle, and especially what are not? It's just about transparency. We want to accompany our client in their decarbonization journey. We want to learn how to create the incentive for those that are really interested in the decarbonization effort. And we want to play a role, as I said before, in reducing the risk during the transition. We will provide a tool, that where you will be able to monitor the progress towards the final goal. And we can really help the ship owner to achieve their objective. I have heard very frequently, why are the insurance company doing it when the banks are doing it too? And the answer is, I think, quite straightforward, because we cannot delegate our responsibility to other institutions. It's the Poseidon Principle. It's not about enforcing, and it's not a prescriptive initiative. The goal is not to exclude ships from obtaining insurance. It's rather the other way around. It's about generating a dialogue that allows insurance and ship owner to collaborate together to achieve these objectives. Thank you very much. And I give the word back to Morgan.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Always nice to hear directly from you. And it's just a very quick focus on what is exactly the climate element score and how it works. So we have very nice illustration here with example of vessels and their actual emissions. And you have also the allotted emissions that we will see in the next slides that are basically the trajectories that are currently within the initiative of 50% and 100% CO2 reduction by 2050. These are based on the initial IMO strategy with another trajectory that aims at supporting and being more ambitious. And if I go back to the slide before, the idea is that we just compare the actual emissions of vessel with the allotted emission and where it should be to be in line with the trajectory. And this gives you a vessel alignment, so a minus or plus delta. And then we have this, we do the same for the portfolio level, and it gives you a final score over the year against both trajectories. So you can see on the right how it looks like in the report for one Signatories, for example, with the scores that are above the alignment delta, meaning it's not aligned with the allotted emission typically. So it was just a quick focus on the mechanic of it. And now I give back the floor to Patricia to go us through the annual disclosure report takeaways. And we have like around 2 minutes for that. So back to you, Patricia. I think you're on mute, Patricia.
I will try to be short. This was the second report, right? And we had the 10 insurer last year. They were 8, right, Morgan? And they reported the climate alignment for their shipping portfolio of the year 2022 against the 2 trajectories. And we had 9 of the affiliate members that have showed support by telling us what they have done during the year in support of the initiative. The average score was for the 50% trajectory. We had a plus 13.6 reduction, while on the one on the 100% reduction trajectory, we had a plus 23.8. It looks like quite high number, but I would honestly be surprised if at this moment in time, this would look different, because there is a lot that need to happen until 2015 in terms of availability of new fuel, new tech, operational efficiency. And this is why it's so important that we know where we stand today to make sure that we are heading in the right direction. What are our key takeaways here? there is really room to improve the reporting percentage. We have seen a certain fatigue in the reporting, and we have realized that it's very difficult also to compare the portfolio year after year. If you look at the banks, they have a much more stable portfolio, while in insurance, it's constantly changing. And as such, it's difficult not only to compare the result of the single company, of us all together, but even worse with the banks, that they have a much more stable portfolio because the investment decisions are done over 10, 15 years. The role, we need to say that the affiliate has played a key role in this, especially the brokers as well as the association. And once again, this has proven how the collaboration among all stakeholders in our ecosystem is important. And this is why we have created this affiliate status, because we want to acknowledge the important role that everybody is playing in the value chain. There is a lot that is up for us, especially the change in methodology to include the most recent decision that were taken at IMO MEPC 80. We have now a new trajectory that represent a new that want to achieve the net zero until 2050. But what is also extremely important is that we want to move that the IMO mandate to move from the well to wake, and there will be also other type of emission that will be considered that are not considered today. Very clearly, there is a lot of work ahead of us because we need to utilize the lesson learned. And our key objective is to continue to demystify this initiative. This initiative, it's not about being a green lobby or excluding people from insurance. It's just about supporting our client to reach the goal that IMO is setting for them, and IMO is asking them to report exactly the same information that we are asking for.
Thank you very much, Patricia. It was very nice to have your insights on this report and the challenges and what else we still need to do, and in collaboration with other within the industry, of course. So now we have this big picture. It would be super useful to have some concrete experience from you, Matthias. I also suggest, if you have any questions, please use the chat. We will have some times again in the end. But yes, Matthias Skull joined PPMI in early last year, and you went through the first exercise of reporting. And during this first year, could you a bit tell us more what was your experience and share with us?
Yes, thank you, Morgan. Before I go into our experience for this reporting here, I think it's important that we use a little bit of time on what Patricia just mentioned now on the IMO new ambitions, if it's possible to go to the next slide. There are new ambitions coming from IMO, 20% reduction by 2030, striving for 30% compared to 2008 levels. The second ambition is to have a 70% reduction, striving for 80% in 2040, and then have net zero by 2050. This is quite significant improvement in strategy and objectives. And I also wanted to highlight this in red here, the 1A. 5% of the fuel mix is to be zero emission. This is a sub goal of IMO, and striving for 10%. if there are anyone in the audience that are working with clients and seeing opportunities here, this means that it will be around 3,500 to 7,000 vessels going on zero emission fuels in 6 years' time if we are following IMO's ambition. So there is an incredibly increase in risks for marine insurers. There are new technologies, as Patricia said, and it's important for us to understand this. If you can get up the graph. So I borrowed this graph from our friends in UMass, and as you can see, the two linear lines here, the blue lines, the light blue and the dark blue, they are the old trajectory lines, and the light blue is the old ambitions from IMO of 50% reduction. This was 2018 goal. So with the improved goals and checkpoints, you can see that shipping is much more ambitious. Going forward, as Patricia also mentioned, we will follow IMO, and we support IMO's new ambitions. And if you look upon the orange and the purple lines here, they look like a set. These are the new ambition and the striving ambition. And in the short term, if you look between where we are now, 2024, and until like 2033, you can actually see that these new ambitions in the way we are measuring the trajectory lines is actually less ambitious in the short term, but going after in 2030 and in the 2030s, it's going to be much more difficult to be a part of or align with the trajectory line if the shipping merchant fleet is being the same. I also wanted to give you a little bit attention to this pink line, which is what we call a science-based target initiative trajectory line. This is a thought way of saying that if shipping were to follow the Paris Agreement of 1 point and limiting to 1.5 degrees of increase in global average temperatures by mid of this century, it actually, the new ambitions is less ambitious than what is needed to reach that goal. It is important to say that the new ambitions are more realistic and are reflecting more the way shipping will go towards net zero, by maybe focus on energy efficiency in the short term, and then changing to new fuel technologies and net zero solutions later on. Okay, with that in background, I think we will look upon our experiences. So I have sort of had three key takeaways. The first one is cooperation, if we can get that up. 3 points here. Firstly, ship owners are positive to contribute. The ship owners are reporting this same data we are asking for to IMO, and they have this data. They have calculated and got this data verified. So it is actually quite easy accessible for them. So when we are talking with the ship owners, we get a very positive feedback from the ship owners, and they are willing to share this data with us. So that is very, very, very good. The second point here is that the majority of brokers are very supportive. In marine insurance, we use brokers in between the ship owner and as an insurer. And it is important to have the broker on board, which is in this case the affiliate members as well. We see that there are some more need maybe with some brokers to get more information about what Poseidon Principle is and why we are doing it. And then the final point on cooperation, Poseidon Principles, as Patricia also mentions, sets the agenda for us as underwriters to obtain more insights. When we are putting Poseidon Principle in the dialogue, we are more able to understand the needs of the ship owner and see the transition that they are going through. I got a little bit feedback now, so maybe someone is not on mute. But I'll go to the next point, which this, as Morgan said, this is was our first year, and we were very exciting. You know, we were to collect data for over 1,000 vessels, many clients, and we were thinking, okay, will this be will be a lot of work? So what we did in the early last year is we had a very systematic approach and focus on the underwriters to be champions of Poseidon Principles and understanding both why we are doing it and the process we are going through. So I'll sharing here the slide we had with when we had training with the underwriters. And we really okay, there are two ways here and possible outcomes. You can even have a low response rate or a high response rate. And we identify 4 main barriers that would get us to a higher response rate. And this was internal awareness. We think that if the underwriters know what they are talking about, know what they are gathering of data, they have a better understanding of the ship owner's needs, and again, a better possibility to obtain the good dialogue that we want with the ship owner. And this is, as you can see, green, because this is something we have full control over. And then there is 2 barriers that we had an influence over. And that first one is to make sure that the broker we are talking to are understanding the Poseidon Principles. This, we used a lot of time between the underwriter and the brokers to build a dialogue for what is needed and where we were going. Then the second barrier here was to find the correct person in the shipping company. We experienced that when we first got sort of the good dialogue with the broker also easily found the correct entry point in the shipping company, and we were able to obtain the data from the ship owner. And then the final barrier, which is out of our control, was in this case if the ship owner were to reject sharing the data. We had a few cases of that from some smaller ship owners. The reason this was sort of a barrier at this point is because we haven't included the common clause this year. But now going forward, there is a common clause for Poseidon Principles, making the ship owner to actually share the data as a part of the policy. So then we ended up identifying 3 sort of objectives. The first one was to have 100% reach out rate. So we're very happy that we were able to do that. We aimed for 90% collection rate. We'll see that we didn't quite manage to go all the way there, but I think we did quite well in the end. The second objective was to have 0 brokers stopping the process due to lack of knowledge. So this was very important that in the dialogue with the broker, we make sure that the broker understands Poseidon Principles and what it's all about. And then finally, we wanted to make the underwriters champions of the Poseidon Principles. And in school, we have done training with each underwriter that is collecting data. And they are feeling that this is something that is a value to them, both in the collecting, but also in the day-to-day work when talking and having this dialogue with the client. And then over to the reporting of our portfolio. If you click one more time, you can see that we didn't get 90%, but we were able to have 70% of the number of vessels, and we got 77% of the deadweight tons times share, which is the measure we use in Poseidon Principles on the portfolio. This basically means that we had more of the larger vessels reporting out of those 70%. When we look upon the school total results, so including the following, we ended up at a reporting rate of 40% and a non-reporting of 60%. And this is a little bit something we have to reflect upon. We want this number to be much higher, and going forward, I think this is something we have to address. How can we make sure that we also get on board this total result number to acceptable level? Moving to the next slide. Thank you. So that brings us to what is next for the PPMI. If we take step number 1, we want to simplify the process for all stakeholders. The work we are doing in Poseidon Principle now through the technical committee and the steering committee is to make sure that we are simplifying this process. When we look upon the barriers that we identified, these are barriers that we make sure that we can break down to make it easier to get a high response rate. This is basically what we want to do. The second point here is that we want to be inclusive. I assume there are some in the audience that want to be a part of Poseidon Principles and becoming a signatory. It is very, very important for us to say that we want to be inclusive and want to show you and give you our experience so you can be on board of this industry collaboration, basically. And finally, the third point is that whatever we are doing, we want to keep that dialogue with ship owners. This is super key to the relationship with the clients. And we see that we are able to extract more information about new technologies and risks than what we have done before we become a Poseidon Principle signatory. And having that dialogue is very, very important. So although we will simplify things, I think having Poseidon Principles, a decarbonization and IMO strategy high on the agenda, that will be very, very, very important. Then I will just close off with a few sort of a few minutes on what we do in school and how we think in school. This is something that is probably very elementary for many of you, but we are working with risk. And the risk is the product of the probability and the consequence of an event. And if you click one more time, please. What we are talking about in relation to decarbonization, we are really talking about climate risk. And climate risk is by definition the sum of physical risks and transitional risks. When we look upon physical risks, that is the actual changes in climate change. If we know that an event, so for example, a hurricane, a drought in the Panama Canal or in the Rhine River or something like that, we know that the probability of that is going up, and we know that the consequence of these events are going up, there will be an increase in risk. The same goes with the transitional risk. If we know that shipping is going towards net zero, we know that the probability of new technologies is coming, and we know that there will be a change in consequence. So there will be a change in risk, and this is something we have to assess on a fundamental level going forward as a marine insurance company. And then I want to show you my favorite sentence because it grabs everything we want to do in school. Uncertainty causes risks handled by mitigation, resulting in outcomes. What do I mean here? I mean that we have a set of uncertainties. We have regulations, we have from IMO, we have reinsurance that are demanding a certain level of sustainability in the companies. We have public opinion, and we have the climate risks that we need to care for. And the question becomes, how can we mitigate these risks that are created of these uncertainties in such a way that we get the desired outcome that we want in schools? And being an engineer, I want to have one definition, and thank you. That is robustness, that type of outcome we are wanting to have. And you're probably wondering, okay, that's a nice word, but the definition, I think, is very useful. If you take the next slide. So robustness is the ability of the system to do its basic job in unexpectedly adverse environments. What does this mean for marine insurance? It means that we need to make sure we are selling marine insurance to our clients despite the changes in uncertainty that are affecting us. And this is the reason why it's really, really important for us to now understand what is climate risk. And we really believe that we can only do this by being a part of the transition. So we have teamed up, as you can see from the right side here of the slide, many key industry initiatives like the Zero Carbon Center and Green Shipping Program. These are extremely important for us to extract information about the needs of the ship owner so that we can understand these risks better. And it's important to see here that Poseidon Principle is one of these elements for us in school to actually be able to have that dialogue with the ship owner. So thank you, Morgan.
Thank you very much, Matthias. Very relevant, and thanks for the energy as well. Happy to have you on board. Now, I'm delighted to hear from Florence. So Gallagher is one of the affiliate members within the initiative. And yeah, we would like to hear from you about what made you decided to join as an affiliate member and how was your experience so far. So thank you for being here today, and the floor is yours.
Thanks. As Patricia mentioned at the beginning of this, I think the change really comes from a coordinated approach. Pressure from the IMO or public opinion means that our clients are going to need to start preparing for the way their premiums calculated or the impact on their insurance. And as a broker, I think it's our job to help them through that process. Overall, I think it's been a positive experience. Obviously, like conversations today, we get to come together and hear from lots of experts. So why did we sign up? We've been an affiliate member since the end of 2022, and we've been through 2 reporting cycles. It's clear that shipping obviously significantly contributes to greenhouse gas emissions. I think somebody asked a question earlier. The latest figure I see is about 3%, and it's expected that that will increase if we don't make changes. Obviously, we don't want shipping to stop. It facilitates global trade and contributes to economies all over the world. So we've got to work together to find a way to reduce greenhouse gas emissions as soon as possible, whilst making sure we're considering all the repercussions. We signed up because it's a mammoth task and believe that we can't do it by ourselves. We do need to work together. It does need to be coordinated if we want to make a meaningful change. So that's why I guess we're here today. Next slide, please. As an affiliate, I think there are a few challenges. One, it's convincing clients that they should invest their time and money in developing their vessels. There's so many technological and chemical advancements, it can be difficult for them to work out where it's best to invest. And especially making sure that the insurance that we're arranging covers those advancements. And I think that's one of the reasons that forums like these are useful, because we can hear from our peers and learn from each other, whilst of course being cognizant of any competition laws. Another issue, and maybe most obviously, is that some clients are still sceptical about what's going to happen to their data, how it will be used. Will it mean that clients that haven't made efforts to reduce their emissions, will they be penalised? Will their premiums go up? I've also been reading about the question of whether underwriters will start claiming they are ignoring a moral hazard to do something about it. As an affiliate specifically, rather than a signatory, we're here to help, I guess, move the conversation along and raise awareness. So it can be quite difficult when it comes to reporting to show kind of numerically what we've done to progress. But really, it's having these conversations and meeting with underwriters and meeting with our clients. And the next slide, please. Positives from a Gallagher perspective, obviously from a client's point of view, it's great that we're keeping up to date. And if there are changes coming down the line, the sooner we know about them, the sooner we can start those conversations. It's given us another platform to strengthen our relationship with underwriters. We've had underwriters come in and speak about products that they offer. For example, one of them is offering an excess emission product where if, for example, a voyage takes longer than expected, the claim payment is carbon credits that then go towards one of many projects you can choose from. The whole initiative, obviously reducing greenhouse gas emissions is a priority, but by moving to cleaner fuels or different designs of vessels, we could be kind of positively impacting the ocean more directly. For example, if there's a fuel spills and it's water soluble, we obviously won't do as much damage to the environment as if it were oil. From a broker perspective, I'm sure everybody wants to be seen as an expert in their field. And with all these new technologies, if we can prove that we're keeping up to speed, we can obviously offer our clients a better service than those that aren't keeping up to speed. And the next slide, please. What steps have we taken? So as mentioned, it can be quite difficult as an affiliate to show numerically how we're progressing, but things we've done, we've publicised the PPMI within our division through divisional town halls and team meetings. We've also shared with our reinsurance arm and with our overseas offices. We've included a standard PPMI clause in our pre-bind documentation, so all our hull and machinery clients receive the wording. And as I mentioned earlier, we've been speaking to underwriters about what products they're offering, so we can start letting our clients know what options they have. And then our main focus when it comes to reporting is acting as a conduit between our clients and the underwriters. Like Matthias said, we need to make sure that we're increasing the number of clients that are responding to these surveys. So it's important that we help with those relationships. What do we want to do more of? Again, I think as others have said, the way we collect data from clients can be a bit difficult and clunky. We know that they're often providing this data to IMO anyway. So in future, it'd be great to see a more efficient or slick process, because the easier we can make it for our clients, I think the more likely they are to respond in a timely manner. And as I've touched on, I think it'd be great if we, it'd be great if we were able to learn more about technologies that are available so that our brokers are more prepared as they start to see new risks develop.
Thank you very much, Florence. Thanks for sharing your experience, very insightful as well, and giving concrete feedbacks. We now have some time for question, and you have popped up. There is the first one about the relative importance of emission produced by shipping industry as compared to the global emission from other sectors. I can try to take it, and if any of you want to add anything, don't hesitate among the speakers. So we know already that the shipping indeed represents 80% of the world trade, and in terms of emission, it is evaluated now as of 2 to 3% of the global emissions. And if it continues as business as usual, the emission could skyrocket. And that's why also the IMO is setting now a very clear pathway to go to net zero in 2050 or close by. And if we compare to other sectors, the main one are electricity, heating, agriculture, and industry. And the shipping one is also in the part of transport, which is among the fourth more emitting. And we can say all around, based on your clause or any object that are, most of them are transported by sea. So for sure, there is enormous impacts. And that's why it's also important to tackle this as a joint effort with other sectors.
I can add from a marine insurance perspective here that, you know, if we are the most energy efficient way of transporting is by ship, and we are transporting 80 to 90% of the goods, then it is important that those vessels have insurance, and we have to make sure that those vessels are sailing safely on the sea. And that's why it's important to have this group and this initiative. So we want to support the energy efficiency and the drive and the IMO goals. I think when we compare to the global emissions, of course, it's being at 3%, but if you take aviation or other transports, it's around the same. So having goods transported on vessels, that is very, very important.
And I think, Morgan, it's also very important to add that if shipping was a country, would be the sixth, would be number 6 in terms of emission, same number as Germany. But for me here, the key thing is what will happen if we are not going to do anything. And potentially from 3, we will go up to 15, since everybody else is trying to reduce their own emission.
Yes, thanks for adding on this. We have also a question about, is there a shared wording of the PPMI clause to be included in insurance document? Who wants to answer on that one, maybe?
Yes, there is a common clause that is used by all signatories, and it is available on the Poseidon Principles website.
Yes, exactly. It's part of the enforcement one, and you can find it on the website.
Shall I take the next of Nigel? Thank you very much for asking this question. I can't answer it because we are not agreeing on the incentive. Each and every company decide on their own. There are considerations, as Matthias very nicely said, that are also connected with risk. And as such, you can assume that a shipping company that is investing so much and doing so much could be a better risk, because there is a lot of risk management that is done. This is quite empirical, but definitely we will never set goals. Because if we set a goal, we can run into antitrust issue that we don't want. This initiative is only about transparency. It's not about setting goal. Each and every company will have to decide on what are the incentives that they offer, because they want to attract that type of clients.
Yes. I don't see any other question for now, and the time is also running, but what I can propose is that to have a final word or comment from our speakers. It can be quite open on if you have any additional message you want to share for people to join in. So should we start with maybe you, Florence, if you have any addition to that today's meeting, or I don't know, comments?
I think, and hopefully everyone joining, I think these kind of forums are really, and while there aren't rules set in stone from insurers, by having these conversations, hopefully we can all become more aligned.
Thank you. Matthias? Sorry, I don't know, because your connection is lagging a bit, but I think it's fine. You can go, Matthias.
No, I think it's important that Poseidon Principles is one of the elements that are making us able to understand the needs of the ship owner, and this is why it's very, very important. And I truly believe that we that are a part of Poseidon Principles are getting a competitive advantage when it comes to speaking with these ship owners that are doing this transition. If you remember that over 3,000 to 7,000 vessels might be coming into the market with this type of technology, it would be fairly dumb to not look into this. And I encourage, we want to have everyone included in this. We want the industry to go together. So if there is signatories, potential signatories in the crowd, we of course welcome them. And will help them set up the way we have done and the experiences we have.
Thank you. I can see another question that popped up maybe before giving you a word, Patricia, but there is this question that someone saying they have discussion with banks, so I guess related to the Poseidon Principle for financial institution, and one of important driver for becoming signatory of the Poseidon Principle is related to reducing the risks of credit lost from standard assets. And this person is asking basically, and I think you touched upon it, Patricia, before, is there something similar for the insurance? And I want to also just point out that it's for the banks, it's really on an individual basis, and it's not within the Poseidon Principle for financial institution. There is no clear target setting or direction on what they do with their results. Yeah, I just wanted to add it on that. It's really at individual level, but maybe you have some more addition to that as the industry expert.
Matthias, do you want to start?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a little bit on the last part of the question that the answer is yes. Ammonia, for example, we know it's toxic. Patricia, you mentioned hydrogen. We know it's explosive. If we are not able to mitigate these risks, we are in big trouble, and this will be difficult for the crew and many types of the risks that we provide to the ship owner. So for us, understanding and making sure that we are mitigating these risks, that we have comfortable that the ship owners are taking enough measures, that the class societies and flag states are making sure that there is framework for these fuel technologies. We have to be a part of this journey to understand these risks. If not, it will be difficult to say yes to these risks. And that is not what we want to do. We want to say yes.
This is a very good question, right? This is exactly what you, Matthias, just said, and that I have been pointing to. The ships that will get on water using alternative fuel will be considered prototypes. And you know that prototypes are even excluded from reinsurance treaties. So it's extremely important that we get ready for this. There are major shipping registers that are making assessment on how these ships will behave. It's really important that we, as an insurance industry, we are ready to do a proper risk analysis, because we cannot take us out. This, if not, what will happen when all ships will use alternative fuel? Does it mean that we are losing our client because we are not able to support them? But the answer to your question is yes. Potentially, there is more risk. We don't know exactly if it is more risk, but the risk profile will be different. And we need to get ready for this. We cannot take ourselves out. If not, we will become irrelevant. We will lose on a new risk pool, and we will lose our client if we are not able to support them. And as such, the incentive is there. And Morgan said it really well. We cannot compare banks and insurances because we insure the whole fleet. The banks are supporting one single ship, but these last for many years, while our portfolio changed very much from year to year. And but thank you, Christian. This was really a very good question. Feel free to reach out to us if you want to get more into the discussion, because this is an important discussion.
And we're coming to the end of the webinar right on time. So we can see our contacts here. If you want more information, our secretariat is happy to share. You will receive the recording and everything. So I don't know if you have a very final word, Patricia, and then
I just would like to say thank you to Morgan, Rita, Lena, and especially to Florence and to Matthias. The good thing also about the Poseidon Principle is that in our normal life, we compete. But we have here an opportunity to create a very positive synergy for our market, where we understand in what we do in our daily life, we can create a lot of purpose by being together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you.